Chapter 1. Blood on the Moonlight. Rain fell like shattered glass over the ruins of Silver Pine Street. Neon lights flickered through the storm as Selene knelt beside the lifeless body of her mate, Cale, his eyes dull beneath the blood-soaked glow of a half-moon. The scent of iron and betrayal filled the air. Her trembling hands brushed his cheek, but it was cold. The alley was silent except for the slow, heavy footsteps of the man who had killed him, Lucien Drax, alpha of the Ironclaw pack. His black coat dripped with rain and blood alike. His eyes, silver, unfeeling, watched her like a wolf studying prey that no longer mattered. "He broke the law," Lucien said, voice deep, steady, cruel. Selene lifted her head, tears burning her cheeks. "He was my mate." Lucien's jaw tightened. "Then you should have stopped him." Lightning cracked across the sky as she screamed, raw, feral, endless, and the city seemed to shudder with her pain. That night, the moon goddess was watching. Days passed like fever dreams. The council burned Cale's name from the pack records, branding him a traitor for crimes she never understood. They said he'd stolen the sacred mark, the one that bound Wolf and Moon. She didn't believe it. Cale had been kind, quiet, loyal to his pack. But truth had a strange way of shifting in a world ruled by wolves and fear. Selene hid from the pack, living in the hollow shell of an abandoned subway station, haunted by whispers of vengeance. Every night she'd see Lucien's face in her mind, the cold precision, the way his blade had gleamed beneath the moonlight. And every night she'd swear revenge. Yet deep beneath the fury, a strange pull lingered, a connection she couldn't explain, something old, something forbidden, as if the moon goddess had stitched a curse into her grief. When the moon turned red 1 week later, the air changed, the earth trembled, and the goddess whispered her name. The dream came first, a silver meadow under a red blood moon. Selene stood barefoot, her reflection shimmering in the lake below. A voice echoed, soft, ancient, trembling with power. "Two souls bound by blood, divided by death, must walk as one." She turned and saw him, Lucien. The man who murdered her mate stood across the water, eyes no longer cruel, but haunted. "No," Selene whispered, stepping back. But vines of light coiled around her wrists, pulling her forward. "Release me," she cried. The moon goddess appeared, tall, radiant, her hair like flowing starlight. "Fate cannot be undone, child. His soul calls yours." Selene shook her head. "He killed Cale." The goddess's gaze softened. "And through his death, you are bound. The curse is the path is the bond." The light surged, blinding, searing her mark into existence, a glowing crescent on her collarbone. When Selene woke, sweat drenched her skin, her heart raced, and the scent of Lucien filled the air. She stumbled out of her makeshift shelter, heart pounding. The city was asleep, but her senses burned alive, sound sharper, scent clearer, instincts wild. The bond was real. The moon goddess hadn't given her mercy, she'd given her a nightmare. Her vision pulsed with fragments of Lucien's memories, flashes of him kneeling in blood, his hand trembling as he killed Cale, a look of regret flickering before he buried it beneath command. "No," she whispered, pressing her palms to her temples, "I won't forgive him." But the mark throbbed with heat, tugging her toward the Ironclaw district, toward him. Her body betrayed her hatred. Every step closer, her wolf stirred, aching with confusion. The bond wasn't desire, it was compulsion. When she reached the pack gate, guards stopped her, but before they could speak, Lucien emerged from the shadows. His eyes widened when he saw the mark glowing on her skin. "No," he muttered, "it can't be." For the first time, the cold alpha looked afraid. The moon hung high, full and white, as silence draped over them. Selene stood before the man who had shattered her world, her breath shallow, rage trembling beneath her skin. "You killed my mate, and now the goddess binds us?" Lucien's voice broke for the first time. "I didn't choose this." His hand trembled at his side. "Cale betrayed the code. He would have killed hundreds." Selene stepped closer, eyes burning gold. "You're lying." "I wish I were," he whispered. For a heartbeat she saw truth in his eyes, pain, guilt, and something else, shame. The bond between them pulsed like a heartbeat, ancient and unyielding. The moon goddess's whisper returned, echoing in both their minds. "Hate cannot break what destiny has written." Selene turned away, tears blurring her vision. The night smelled of rain and fate. Behind her, Lucien whispered her name, soft, broken, almost human. The bond burned brighter, a cruel flame of destiny neither could escape.
Chapter 2. The Night Before Death. The night before Cale died, the city glowed with silver haze and laughter. The annual Moonrise Festival filled the streets, wolves and humans alike celebrating harmony that never truly existed. Lanterns floated over the river, each carrying a whispered wish to the moon goddess. Selene's hand rested in Cale's as they walked through the crowd. His dark curls brushed her cheek whenever he leaned close, whispering things only she could hear. "When this is over," he murmured, "we'll leave the packs behind. Just us. No laws, no wars." She smiled, though fear tugged at her heart. Wolves didn't leave their packs, not without consequence. But Cale's eyes were full of hope, and she wanted to believe in something beautiful. Behind them, across the crowd, Lucien Drax stood in the shadows, watching. His expression unreadable, his hand gripping the blade hidden beneath his coat. The moon hung low, red at its edges, and the first omen passed unnoticed. Every lantern that night drifted east instead of north, toward the Ironclaw Mountains, a sign the elders would later call destiny. Cale and Selene lived in the border zone between packs, where old warehouses hid their secret meetings. They weren't supposed to be together. Cale was born under the crest of the Silver Fang, and Selene, half human, half wolf, belonged to no pack at all. The council called her the lost breed. Yet Cale saw her as the missing piece of his soul. Their love was reckless, soft, and dangerous, like fire near gasoline. That night they danced beneath the dripping lights of the old rail yard, barefoot and laughing, rain painting halos in their hair. "Do you ever think the moon goddess watches us?" Selene asked, breathless. "She must," Cale said. "How else would I have found you?" She leaned into him, unaware of the shadow across the rooftops, Lucien's watcher, a black-cloaked scout marking every move. Cale's hands trembled when he thought she couldn't see. He had done something forbidden, something that could cost them both their lives, but he hadn't told her yet. He wanted one last night before truth tore them apart. Later, as thunder rumbled far away, Cale sat on the edge of their shared mattress, staring at the crescent scar over his chest. It glowed faintly under the moonlight seeping through the window. Selene slept beside him, peaceful. He reached out, brushed a strand of hair from her face, and whispered, "Forgive me." He had stolen something sacred, a relic from the lunar vault, rumored to grant freedom from the goddess's binding mark. He'd meant to save Selene from ever being claimed by the pack, but in doing so, he had broken the highest law. And Lucien, his alpha and closest friend, knew it. A memory burned in Cale's mind, Lucien's face hours earlier, full of warning. "Return it, Cale, or the council will brand you a traitor. Don't make me choose between you and the code." Cale's answer was silence. He'd chosen love over law. Now, as Selene turned in her sleep, whispering his name, he kissed her forehead. "If I die for you, At least the moon will remember. Outside, the wind howled like an omen. Lucien found him the next morning in the temple courtyard. Rain poured and wolves circled in silence. The council had already heard. Betrayal, theft, desecration of the lunar vault. Kale stood before them, unarmed, soaked and unflinching. "You know why I did it," he said, meeting Lucien's eyes. "I did it for her." The elders hissed. "For a half-breed," spat one. "You disgrace your bloodline." Lucien's fists clenched. He wanted to defend his friend, but the command burned inside his veins, the Alpha's bond forcing obedience to the code. "Return the relic." Kale's gaze hardened. "It's gone." Lucien stepped forward, his voice cracking. "Don't make me do this." Kale smiled sadly. "You already have." The air trembled. A single drop of rain slid down Lucien's blade as he unsheathed it. The wolves around them howled, not in anger, but in grief. Kale dropped to his knees, spreading his arms wide beneath the bleeding sky. "Tell Selene I kept my promise," he whispered. Then, with one swift motion, the blade struck, and silence fell over the temple. By the time Selene arrived, the courtyard was empty, except for the blood that rain could not wash away. The relic was gone, the pack had vanished, and Kale's scent was fading into the earth. She found his necklace half buried in mud, a silver fang pendant he'd carved for her. Her hands shook as she clutched it to her chest, her wolf howling inside her mind. She didn't know yet that Lucien had spared her life, that he had lied to the council, claiming she'd fled the city. She didn't know that the moon goddess herself had marked her name and light that night, rewriting the bond that should have died with Kale. All she knew was loss. The rain kept falling as she screamed into the night, her voice breaking against thunder. Somewhere beyond the rooftops, Lucien watched from the shadows, face pale, eyes hollow. "Forgive me," he whispered, but the goodness did not forgive. The red moon rose once more, and destiny began to shift its chains.
Chapter 3. The Secret Behind His Eyes. Days passed after the rejection, but to Lyra, time had frozen at sunrise. The world moved around her. Wolves trained, markets bustled, children laughed, but she moved through it like a ghost. Each night she heard his howl echoing across the valley. It wasn't dominance, it was mourning. She tried to block it out, yet something inside her twisted every time. Mates, even rejected ones, could still feel faint threads of each other's emotions. She felt his torment and his fear. One morning, while collecting herbs near the river, she sensed it, a shadow that didn't belong. It slithered across the water's reflection, dark, rippling, alive. Her wolf growled, fur bristling. "You see it too," she whispered. A whisper on the wind replied, faint but clear. "He didn't choose to reject you." Lyra froze, heart hammering. The voice vanished as quickly as it came. Her pulse raced. Someone or something was watching her, and maybe, just maybe, it was tied to Kieran's secret. That night, Lyra snuck into the forest following Kieran's scent. The moon was half full, hanging low over the pines. She moved silently, her bare feet pressing against moss and cold soil. When she reached the Alpha's den, a stone fortress built into the mountainside, she saw him standing outside, shirtless, his body tense beneath the moonlight. His eyes glowed gold, but beneath the Alpha's strength there was exhaustion, pain, fear. She watched him press a hand to his chest, whispering something she couldn't hear. Then the air shimmered. From the darkness behind him, a figure emerged, tall, cloaked in black, eyes burning crimson. Lyra's breath caught. The figure's voice was like smoke. "You've delayed long enough, Alpha. Rejecting her was only the first step. You belong to us now." Kieran's body stiffened. "I never agreed to this," he growled. The figure's grin was serpentine.
Oh, but your blood did. The shadow reached toward him, and Kieran's knees buckled in agony. Lyra's heart shattered. Lyra wanted to run, to help, but instinct told her to stay hidden. The shadow's hand pressed against Kieran's chest, dark energy pulsing like veins of black lightning. Every night you resist, your pack pays, the shadow hissed. Kieran groaned, his body trembling under invisible weight. She could feel it even from afar, the pull of dark magic. This wasn't ordinary power. It was ancient, older than the packs themselves. She caught fragments of the shadow's words. The blood pact you made with the shadow fangs binds you to their curse. Break it, and your people die. Kieran's voice broke through the pain. I'll find another way. The figure's laughter echoed through the trees. There is no other way, Alpha. You've tied your fate to the darkness, and you know what happens to those who defy it. When the shadow vanished, Kieran collapsed. Lyra's wolf pushed forward inside her chest, enough hiding. She couldn't stay silent anymore. Lyra stepped from the trees, her voice trembling. Kieran. His head snapped up, eyes wide, guilt flooding them. Lyra, you shouldn't. Don't tell me what I should or shouldn't do, she interrupted, fury and heartbreak blending into one. You're cursed, aren't you? He looked away. It's not a curse. It's a bargain that cost me my heart. Her voice cracked. Why didn't you tell me? Kieran's hands shook as he gripped the ground. Because if I told you, the shadow fangs would have killed you. They wanted leverage. I gave them my bond instead. The truth struck her like a blade. He hadn't rejected her out of pride. He'd done it to protect her. Tears blurred her vision. You think protecting me means breaking me? She whispered. You're the Alpha, Kieran. You fight, not surrender. He met her gaze, pain etched deep. You don't understand. I feel their shadow every night. It's killing me slowly. Lyra knelt beside him, the moonlight wrapping them in silver. She touched his hand, feeling the faint tremor in his pulse. Then we fight it together, she said softly. You rejected me, but the bond still breathes. I can feel it. Kieran's eyes filled with tears he refused to let fall. You shouldn't love me. It's too late, she whispered. A gust of wind swept through the forest, carrying the faint scent of iron and decay, the shadow's warning. Lyra stood, fire returning to her voice. You made a bargain to save your pack. I'll make a bargain to save you. Her wolf stirred, howling inside her chest. For the first time since the rejection, Kieran's eyes flickered with something new. Hope. Lyra, if they find out, then they'll regret ever touching Silverpine, she said, her voice fierce as the rising wind. The moonlight glinted off her eyes, turning them gold. The rejected mate was no longer broken. She was awakening.
Chapter 4. Echoes of the Moon. Selene couldn't sleep. The bond burned beneath her skin like a fever that refused to fade. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw flashes of Lucien's world, his pain, his isolation, his regret, and sometimes his memories bled into hers. Tonight was different. She sat in an abandoned clock tower overlooking the city, Kael's necklace warm in her palm. Rain whispered against the glass as she whispered back, "Why did you have to die for me?" Her reflection stared back, eyes gold at the edges, mark faintly glowing. The bond pulsed once, hard, her vision blurred. Suddenly, she was standing in a corridor she didn't recognize, torches flickering on stone walls. A figure moved ahead. Kael. Her breath caught. He turned, eyes fierce, whispering to someone she couldn't see. The relic must be hidden before Lucien finds out. The voice that answered made her blood freeze. You know what you're doing will doom her, Kael. Selene gasped as the vision shattered. She was back in the tower, heart pounding. The relic, the bond, everything was connected. But how? She didn't know that miles away, Lucien was experiencing the same thing. He'd seen through her eyes, the clock tower, the necklace, her trembling hands. He stumbled back from his desk, nearly knocking over a lantern. The bond was strengthening faster than any ancient record described. "Moon, have mercy," he breathed. He could feel her heartbeat sinking with his. He could even smell the rain where she sat. His wolf stirred beneath the surface, restless. The relic Kael stole had been called the lunar vein, a shard said to hold the goddess's blood, the very essence of fate. Whoever possessed it could rewrite destiny, but at a cost. Kael must have used it to alter Selene's mark, to save her from being bound to any alpha. Instead, he'd cursed her into the bond, now linking her to Lucien. The goddess had twisted Kael's desperate love into punishment, and if what Lucien suspected was true, the lunar vein was still inside Selene, embedded in her soul. He gripped the edge of the desk until his knuckles turned white. He had to find her, before someone else did, before the relic consumed them both. Selene searched the city for answers. Every packed library was closed to her, every elder unwilling to speak to a half-breed. So she went underground, to the places wolves pretended didn't exist. The archive market, a network of tunnels filled with outlaws, witches, and rogue seers. She found an old woman there, blind but sharp as winter. "You seek the lunar vein," the seer rasped, tracing the air before Selene's face. "And it seeks you." Selene swallowed hard. "What is it doing to me?" The woman's cloudy eyes turned pale blue for a moment. "It's rewriting you, child. Flesh and spirit, heart and blood. Soon you won't know where you end and where he begins." Selene's breath hitched. "Him?" "The Alpha," the seer whispered. "You carry his light now, and his curse." The room grew colder. The mark on Selene's chest flared so bright that even the blind woman flinched. "You must choose before the next full moon," she said. "Either accept the bond or die fighting it." When Selene blinked, the seer was gone. Only a silver feather remained, glowing faintly in the dark. As Selene left the tunnels, the city above had fallen silent. Midnight clouds rolled over the skyline, heavy with stormlight. She pulled her coat tighter, but the chill was coming from within. Her wolf stirred uneasily, murmuring thoughts that weren't hers. "He's near." She froze. Across the street, a shadow moved. Lucien. He looked different now. Tired. Haunted. Yet when their eyes met, the mark on both of them blazed like fire. The air between them thickened with tension and something darker. Understanding. "You've seen it too," he said quietly. "Kael's memory." Selene nodded. "He lied to me. He said he stole the relic to free us." Lucien stepped closer, rain slicking his hair back. "He did, but freedom from the goddess isn't a gift. It's a rebellion, and rebellion has a price." She studied his face, searching for deceit. "Why didn't you tell me the truth?" "Because you would have hated me more." Her voice broke. "I already do." The silence after that was heavier than thunder. Then, faintly, they both heard it, a whisper that wasn't human. The moon goddess's voice. "My children, the past was never yours to hold." The world tilted, light erupted around them, silvery and cold, wrapping their bodies in radiant mist. Lucien reached for her, but his hand passed through her like smoke. Visions poured into their minds, shared, uncontrollable. Kael standing in the temple, speaking to the goddess herself. "I don't care if she hates me, save her, even if it means binding her to him." The goddess's reply thundered like a heartbeat. "Then blood shall answer blood." Selene fell to her knees, choking on air. He asked for this.
Lucien's chest heaved. Kael made the bond happen. Their marks pulsed violently, merging into one beam of light that shot toward the sky. And then, darkness. When the vision faded, they were on their knees in the middle of the street, the moon now blood-red above them. Selene's tears fell fast. "He damned us to save me." Lucien's hand brushed the ground, shaking. "And now his choice will destroy us both." The moonlight dimmed, leaving only silence and a distant wolf's howl echoing across the city.
Chapter 5. The Wolf Who Watched the Moon Bleed. The dawn after the storm broke cold and silent. Lyra hadn't slept. The warning carved into her wall replayed in her mind, but it didn't stop her. She followed the scent of iron and rain to the northern cliffs, where Ronan waited, standing at the edge of the mist. "You came," he said, a flicker of respect in his icy eyes. "You said you'd teach me," she replied. "Let's begin." Ronan's training was brutal. He made her fight barefoot on frozen ground, blindfolded, with only her wolf's instincts to guide her. "You've been fighting like a human," he said sharply. "Feel the air, hear its heartbeat. The wolf is not rage, it's rhythm." Every strike she missed, she learned. Every fall, she rose faster. When dusk came, she collapsed, gasping, her body trembling. "Enough," Ronan said, tossing her a flask of water. "You're stronger than you think, Lyra Vance, but strength alone won't save him." He looked at her bond mark, faintly glowing. "You carry something else, moon-born blood." Lyra froze. "That's a myth." "No," Ronan said softly, "it's a threat." That night, under a bleeding red sunset, Ronan led her deeper into the forest, to a clearing where the ground itself shimmered faintly silver. "This is a moon-born ground," he said. "Once, wolves like you connected directly to the moon's essence. But after the blood pact, the alpha line cut that link. Too dangerous." Lyra knelt, feeling warmth rise from the soil, pulsing with every beat of her heart. "So this is why I still feel him," she whispered. Ronan nodded. "The bond survived because of what you are. The moon chose you before Kieran ever did." He drew a circle around her with ash and herbs. "If you open the bond fully again, you'll draw the curse to yourself. It'll try to devour you first." Lyra's eyes burned with determination. "Then let it come." As the ritual began, wind roared through the trees and the silver ground glowed brighter. Pain ripped through her body like fire, but beneath it was power. She saw flashes, Kieran kneeling in his den, chains of shadow wrapping his chest, his lips forming her name. Then darkness swallowed the vision whole. Lyra awoke in Ronan's arms, drenched in sweat. The night sky above her was black and trembling. "You're lucky you're alive," he muttered, lowering her gently. Her pulse pounded in her temples, but her wolf felt sharper, awake. The world around her seemed different, sounds clearer, sense stronger. "You unlocked it, the moonborn's gift," he said quietly. She blinked, disoriented. "Gift?" He met her gaze. "You can now walk the moon veil, the chase between shadow and light. That's where the curse hides." Lyra steadied herself, gripping his arm. "Then I can face it directly." "Not yet," Ronan warned. "Every time you step into the veil, you lose a piece of yourself. It feeds on emotion, fear, love, grief. That's why the Shadowfangs want you." She frowned. "Why me?" "Because," Ronan said, voice grim, "if the moonborn dies under the blood moon, the curse becomes permanent." Lyra inhaled sharply. For the first time she realized the curse wasn't just about Kieran, it was about her.
She wasn't a bystander. She was the key. The following days blurred into fierce training and haunting visions. Lyra learned to harness the moon-born light through meditation, using it to track the threads of energy that linked her to Kieran. Each time she closed her eyes, she saw flashes of his torment, the shadows coiling tighter around him, his eyes dimming with guilt. "He's dying," she whispered once, clutching her chest. "Faster than I thought." Ronan's face hardened. "Then we move faster." But even as she grew stronger, danger crept closer. On the third night, as she practiced near the silver pine border, she caught the scent of decay. Shadowfang scouts. She ducked behind a tree, watching black-cloaked figures glide through the mist. "She's the one hissed. "The moonborn must not reach the blood moon." Lyra's pulse spiked. She waited until they passed, then turned back toward the valley. Her choice was clear now. No more hiding, no more waiting for destiny to crush her. She would bring the fight to them. The rejected mate was no longer prey. She was a storm. That night, as she stood atop the cliff overlooking Silverpine, the moon rose crimson, not full yet, but bleeding around the edges. The blood moon was awakening. Wind whipped her hair as the first howl of the Shadowfang Alpha echoed across the valley, deep and cold as death. The curse had begun stirring. 3 nights, Ronan murmured beside her. After that, no one can stop it. Lyra lifted her gaze to the sky, her eyes glowing gold and silver. "We'll stop it." "You'll die trying," he warned. She smiled faintly. "Then I'll die on my feet." The moon's light intensified, reflecting in the river like molten silver. Somewhere far below, in his dark den, Kieran lifted his head, feeling her power surge through the bond. For the first time since the sunrise of rejection, his lips parted in a whisper. "Lyra." The wind carried her answer back, soft but unbreakable. "By the next moonrise, you'll remember who I am." The night trembled. The war for their souls had begun.
Chapter 6. The Blood Moon Trial. The night bled red. Above the city, the moon loomed monstrous and swollen, its light dripping like molten fire through the clouds. Every wolf in the region howled as if dragged by unseen hands, their voices trembling with fear and devotion. Selene stood on the rooftop of the old cathedral, her golden mark burning brighter than ever. Her breath came shallow, her body trembling under the pull of something divine. Lucien emerged from the shadows, his silver eyes gleaming like knives. "It's starting," he said. Below them, the streets pulsed with lunar energy, the blood moon awakening the hidden wolves, tearing masks from monsters. "When it turns crimson," Lucien added, "she'll call for us." Selene's gaze hardened. "Then let her." The wind roared, carrying the scent of storm and destiny. Between them, the bond thrummed like a heartbeat not their own. Somewhere deep inside her mind, the moon goddess whispered, "One soul must surrender. The balance demands it." Selene clenched her fists. "I won't surrender." But the mark on her chest pulsed once like a warning from heaven. They descended the cathedral stairs into the courtyard, where the stone fountain glowed under the red light. Ancient runes appeared on the ground, spiraling outward like veins of light. "This is it," Lucien murmured, "the trial of union." Selene frowned. "Union? If we fail it, one of us dies. If we pass—" He hesitated. "We become one being, Alpha and Luna fused forever." Her heart stopped. "That's not love, that's control." "It's her justice," he said bitterly. The wind shifted. A shadow took form above the fountain, a woman cloaked in light, her voice echoing like thunder wrapped in silk. "Lucien of the silver blood, Selene of the shattered lineage, you defied my will.
Now prove your worth." Her presence crushed the air from their lungs. Selene fell to her knees, gasping. Lucien tried to reach her, but invisible chains bound him to the runes. "You've taken everything from me," Selene shouted, her voice cracking. "You didn't just kill him, you buried the truth." "I buried my soul," he said. "The moment I took his life, I lost mine." Silence fell. The moon goddess watched, her expression unreadable. "Pain binds you, but only love can free you." The ground split open beneath them, glowing veins of moonlight snaking outward. "You have one final choice: forgive or perish." Forgiveness. The word echoed like thunder through Selene's mind. Could she forgive the man who stole her mate's heartbeat, who haunted her nightmares? Her mark burned, showing flashes of Cale's final smile. "He begged for it," Lucien whispered, voice breaking. "He said his wolf was gone, that the relic had devoured his soul. He wanted his end to come from someone who loved him." His hands shook. "I tried to stop him, Selene. I tried." Her rage faltered, cracking under the weight of his grief. She saw it now, the same pain mirrored in his eyes, the same loss carved into his spirit. "You're our blood," she said softly. "My blood, my curse," Lucien replied. "And now you carry what's left of him." The realization struck her. Cale's energy, the relic's essence, had merged with hers. Her mark wasn't a wound, it was Cale's final gift, his soul bound to her through Lucien. Tears fell silently. "Then maybe this isn't punishment," she said. "Maybe it's redemption." The goddess's voice rose again, louder now. "Then show me that love still exists in ruin." The light around them exploded, swallowing everything. Selene and Lucien stood face to face, suspended in moonlight. "If I forgive you," she whispered, "what happens to us?" Lucien's throat tightened. "Then the bond completes, and we belong to each other, body and soul. And if I don't, then we burn." The choice hung heavy, 1,000 emotions crashing inside her chest. She looked into his eyes, saw the boy who once swore loyalty, the man who carried guilt like armor, the wolf who would die to make it right. She stepped forward until their marks aligned. "Then let the moon decide," she said. The instant their skin met, the light surged, flooding the sky in gold and crimson. The goddess's voice thundered, "Balance restored." And then silence. When the light faded, Selene collapsed into Lucien's arms, unconscious but alive. The blood moon dimmed, returning to pale silver. The goddess's presence vanished, leaving only her whisper. "Forgiveness is never the end. It is the beginning." Lucien looked down at Selene, his heart finally still. "Then let it begin," he murmured, as the first light of dawn broke across the city.
Chapter 7. The Alpha's Chains. Darkness. That was all Kieran knew. Heavy, endless, suffocating darkness. It coiled around his limbs like molten steel, whispering lies in the voice of his ancestors. You failed them. You failed her. He couldn't tell how long he'd been trapped, hours, days, or centuries. Every breath tasted like smoke and iron. He tried to shift, but the curse pressed harder, its claws digging into his soul. Through the void, faint images flickered. Lyra's face, illuminated by moonlight, her silver eyes blazing with defiance. Then the battle, the screams, the explosion of light that burned through the forest. "Lyra," he rasped, his voice breaking in the emptiness. Something cracked in the dark, a sound like shattered glass. Then came warmth, gentle, steady, pulsing with life. Her scent, wild rain and cedar, brushed against her senses. "Wake up, Kieran," her voice whispered through the fog.
The moon hasn't finished with you yet." His heart jolted. The chain sizzled, smoking as cracks of light spread through the black metal. The curse screamed, but Kieran did too, louder, stronger. And for the first time in weeks, his eyes opened. The world came back in fragments, the taste of blood, the smell of fire, the soft rhythm of rain hitting broken roofs. Kieran gasped, sitting up, his chest heaving. His wolf snarled beneath his skin, disoriented but alive. Around him lay the ruins of Silver Pine's den, torn banners, scorched earth, shattered stone. He stumbled to his feet, every muscle trembling. "Lyra!" His voice cracked. No answer, just the low growl of thunder rolling over the valley. Then footsteps. Ronan appeared through the haze, sword at his back, dirt streaked across his face. For a heartbeat, they only stared at each other. "You're alive," Ronan said quietly. "Barely," Kieran muttered. "Where is she?" Ronan hesitated, and that hesitation said everything. "She's not dead, but the curse, she took it from you." Kieran froze, his mind spinning. What? "She absorbed it, to save you." Kieran's heart lurched, his breath caught like it didn't want to move. "No," the word came out strangled. He clenched his fists, claws piercing his palms. "No, she didn't." But she had, and now the curse that once haunted him was crawling through her veins. Rage erupted inside him, hot, raw, and trembling. Kieran slammed his fist into the ground, the shockwave rattling the broken stones around him. "I was supposed to protect her," he roared. "And you rejected her," Ronan said sharply. "At sunrise, you gave her pain. At moonlight, she gave you life." Kieran's chest rose and fell with shallow breaths. The weight of those words tore through him deeper than claws ever could. Memories flooded in, her trembling voice that morning, his cold tone, the way her eyes broke as the sun touched her skin. He thought rejection would make her weaker. Instead, it made her unbreakable. "Where is she now?" he demanded. "On the mountain. She's holding the curse back, but not for long." Kieran turned toward the ridge, the glow of the blood-red moon reflecting in his eyes. "Then I'll tear it out of her before it kills her." Ronan stepped forward. "And if it kills you instead?" Kieran gave a dark, broken smile. "Then maybe that's how the moon makes things even." He shifted, bones cracking, fur bursting from his skin, the alpha reborn. Kieran's wolf tore through the forest like lightning, every stride burning with fury and regret. The wind howled in his ears, branches snapping beneath his paws. The scent of blood grew stronger as he neared the cliffs. There she was, Lyra, standing at the edge of the world, her hair whipping in the wind, the mark on her shoulder glowing a violent red. The curse pulsed like a heartbeat beneath her skin, each wave making her tremble. "Lyra!" Kieran's voice echoed against the mountains. She turned slowly, exhaustion etched into her face. "You shouldn't be here. I shouldn't have taken your punishment." "It wasn't punishment. It was choice." The moonlight glinted off her tears. "You were dying, Kieran. I could have let you," he snapped, his voice breaking. "You think I deserve this?" She looked at him for a long, quiet moment. "I don't care what you deserve. I care what's right." Her knees buckled, and Kieran caught her before she fell. Her pulse was weak, her warmth fading. "You're not dying on me. Not now, not after this." But the curse pulsed harder, as if it disagreed. The moon bled across the sky, painting them both in silver and crimson. Lyra's hand trembled as she reached for his face. "You finally see me," she whispered. "I always did," he said, his voice thick with guilt. "I just looked too late." The curse flared between them, glowing like wildfire. It's feeding on your bond, Ronan shouted, appearing behind them. If you don't sever it, it'll consume you both. But Kieran shook his head, cradling Lyra closer. No, he said, if the moon tied us to this, then the moon will unbind us. He tilted his head back and howled, not in rage this time, but in surrender. His cry carried through the valley, echoing off mountains, stirring ancient spirits. The moon flickered, its light stuttering like a heartbeat. For a moment, it was as if the world held its breath. Then silence. The mark on Lyra's skin dimmed, the wind softened, and Kieran collapsed beside her, exhausted, but alive. When she opened her eyes, his hand was in hers. He smiled faintly. Sunrise again, and I'm still here. She smiled weakly back. Then maybe this time you won't waste it.
Chapter 8. The Shadow Within. The night came without stars. Clouds hung low over the city, swallowing the moon entirely. Inside the abandoned chapel, Selene sat on the altar's edge, her fingers tracing invisible patterns in the air. The symbols glowed faintly, forming and fading like breath on glass. Lucien watched her from the shadows, his pulse uneven. "You haven't slept in days," he said quietly. "I can't," she murmured. "Every time I close my eyes, she wakes." Her voice trembled, but her gaze was distant, like she was looking through him, not at him. The mark on her chest flickered again, alternating between gold and black. "She?" he asked. Selene's lips curved in a faint, airy smile. "The one inside me." The air thickened, cold as winter. "She whispers things, Lucien, things I shouldn't know." "It's not real," he said quickly. "It's the relic's corruption. Fight it." She tilted her head, eyes gleaming faintly red. "And if I don't want to?" His breath caught. For a moment, silence filled the room, broken only by the echo of distant thunder. Then she said softly, "She promises me something the goddess never could." "What's that?" "Kale." Lucien's heart stopped. "Selene," he said, stepping forward, "that's not him. It's a lie." Her laughter was soft, almost tender. "Is it?" She raised her palm, and the air rippled. A vision of Kale appeared, tall, smiling, eyes bright with love. He reached toward her. "You see him too," she whispered. "Tell me that's not real." "It's an illusion," Lucien growled. "A memory twisted to break you." "No," she said, voice shaking. "It feels real. I can smell him." She stepped closer to the apparition, her body trembling. Lucien lunged forward, grabbing her wrist. "Look at me. He's gone. You forgave me because he knew this wanted to end." "Then why does he still call my name in my dreams?" she cried, wrenching free. The vision of Kale flickered and vanished, leaving only darkness. Selene fell to her knees, sobbing. "I can't lose him again, Lucien." He knelt beside her, touching her shoulder. "You're not losing him. You're losing yourself." She looked up, her tears glowing silver in the dark. Maybe that's what she wants. Lucien froze. "Who?" Her lips moved without sound. The air pulsed once. Then, in a whisper that was not her own, a voice hissed through her. "The other moon." The ground shook. Candles burst, walls cracked, and moonlight bled through the ceiling like a wound reopening. Selene screamed, clutching her head as the mark on her chest split into two symbols, one golden, one black. "She's inside," she gasped. "I can feel her. She's trying to take me." Lucien grabbed her, pulling her into his arms. "Fight her! Selene, listen to me." Her body convulsed violently, eyes rolling back. The air turned to frost, her breath misting with each exhale. The goddess' voice whispered faintly in Lucien's mind. The relic was never destroyed. It hid within her heart, and now it awakens. He cursed under his breath. "No, I won't let her take her." He pressed his palm against her mark. Pain exploded through him, burning veins of silver light across his skin. "Lucien, stop!" she cried. "You'll die." "Then I die with you," he said through clenched teeth. The shadow screamed, rising from her body in a swirl of smoke. A face formed in the darkness, a mirror of Selene's but hollow, eyes black as the void. "You cannot save what belongs to me," it whispered. The voice carried ancient power, older than gods, colder than death. And then, Selene's body went still. For a moment, everything froze. Then Selene opened her eyes again, only now they were pure black, swallowing the light. She stood slowly, her movements graceful, terrifyingly calm. "Selene?" Lucien whispered. The voice that answered wasn't hers. "She's resting. I'm what's left." The shadow wore her body like a crown. "You should thank me, because without me, she'd have broken long ago." Lucien's claws extended, eyes flashing silver. "Get out of her." The shadow smiled. "You think this body is hers? You think this soul is yours to claim?" She stepped closer. "You both were chosen because you're broken, because pain makes perfect vessels." Her hand brushed his cheek. "And the goddess made a mistake binding you together. You belong to me now." Lucien's grip tightened around her wrist, his body trembling with fury and heartbreak. "If you've touched her soul, I'll burn the heavens to take it back." The shadow's expression darkened, the air vibrating with power. "Then burn, Alpha. Let's see how divine you truly are." She raised her hand, and the floor shattered, swallowing them into darkness. Lucien awoke in a place without sky. The ground shimmered like obsidian glass, reflecting broken pieces of moonlight. Across from him stood Selene, both of her. One golden, radiant and afraid. The other black as night, smiling with cruel serenity. "She's part of me," Selene whispered. "I can feel her heartbeat in mine." The dark twin stepped forward. "I am whole. You are the fragment, the weakness." "No," Selene said, voice trembling. "You're the pain I buried." "And pain is power," the shadow purred. Lucien moved between them. "You don't belong here." The dark Selene tilted her head. "Then kill one of us. Save your mate or save your bond." The words hit like blades. "Lucien, don't," Selene cried. "If you kill her, you kill me too." The shadow smiled. "Exactly." The world began to collapse, the glass fracturing beneath their feet. Lucien's voice broke. "There has to be another way." The shadow extended her hand. "There is. Choose me." Her black eyes shimmered with Kale's reflection. Lucien froze. The darkness laughed softly. "Even your heart remembers him."
Chapter 9. The Choice of the Broken. The forest was a cathedral of dying light, every tree a witness to the tragedy unfolding beneath its branches. Selene stood barefoot in the circle of ash, her eyes glowing faint silver as the last fragments of the shadow writhed around her. Lucien's chest rose and fell in labored gasps, his shirt torn open, his claws dripping with his own blood. "Selene," he whispered, voice trembling between man and beast, "fight it. Don't let it take you." But the darkness coiled inside her like smoke, whispering Kael's name, showing her memories that weren't real. Kael alive, smiling, calling her "my moon." Her heart split between truth and illusion. The bond pulsed, threads of light snapping and twisting, binding them closer even as pain scorched through both. Above them, the moon dimmed, as though the goddess herself couldn't bear to look. Selene's voice cracked. "If I let go, it dies with me." Lucien staggered closer, eyes blazing with desperate love. "Then I'll follow you," he said, "but I won't let you fall alone." Lightning tore across the sky, splitting the night in two. The ground quaked beneath them as the relic's shattered core pulsed, a heart of ancient magic crying for release. Selene screamed, clutching her chest, her body convulsing as shadows crawled up her arms like black vines. Lucien reached out, his hand trembling, but when he touched her skin, the darkness surged into him too. For a heartbeat, their souls collided, two storms crashing into one. Memories flashed, Kayal's laughter, the night of his death, Lucien's trembling hands after the kill. "Why?" Selene gasped, tears streaking her face. "Why did you take him from me?" Lucien's voice broke. "Because he betrayed you, Selene. He stole the relic to control the goddess, to bind her power for himself." The words cut through the darkness like a blade. Selene fell to her knees, sobbing, every breath a wound. "You lied. He couldn't." "He did," Lucien said softly, "and I killed him to save you." The truth shattered her, not in anger, but in unbearable grief. The world tilted, and for the first time she saw the weight of the choice he had carried alone. The shadow inside Selene screamed, 1,000 voices twisting into one. "Lies! He killed for power!" The air thickened with frost. Lucien dropped beside her, gripping her shoulders, his heartbeat steady against hers. "Look at me," he demanded. "Feel what's real." The bond pulsed again, violent, radiant, forcing memories to merge. Selene saw through Lucien's eyes, Kayal in the temple, hands soaked in blood, the relic pulsing between his palms, whispering promises of eternal dominion. She felt Lucien's horror, his desperation as he fought Kayal, his final strike driven not by hate, but by the will to protect her. The darkness recoiled, hissing, its illusion cracking under truth. Selene screamed, clutching her head, her mind split between two worlds, love and betrayal, grief and clarity. Lucien cupped her face, tears cutting through the dirt on his cheeks. "You were never meant to bear his sin," he whispered. "Let me take it." The moon blazed white, casting them in divine light. For the first time she saw him, not the killer, not the alpha, but the man who'd carried her pain longer than she ever knew. The relic pulsed once more, but this time it didn't hunger, it wept. Lucien stood, his body trembling, as the moon goddess's voice filled the night. One life for another, one soul for freedom. Her words weren't cruel, only eternal. Lucien turned toward Selene, his eyes calm now, like he'd already made peace. "No," she said instantly, shaking her head. "Don't you dare!" He smiled, small and broken. "The bond needs balance. You live, I fade." Selene clawed at his arm, shaking. "You can't leave me. I just started to forgive you." Lucien's hand brushed her cheek, thumb lingering against her tears. "That's why I can." He stepped into the light, his body dissolving into mist. The bond screamed, a violent tear that ripped through both their souls. Selene fell to the ground, clutching her chest, as the connection burned out in a blinding flare. "Lucien!" she screamed, voice echoing through the mountains. But only the moon answered, shining brighter than it ever had, as if blessing his sacrifice. The forest fell silent. The shadow was gone. The relic lay in the dirt, cracked open like a heart that had finally stopped fighting. Selene knelt beside it, her hair tangled, her hands trembling. The air smelled like rain and endings. Then, softly, a voice whispered from the wind, faint, familiar. "You've chosen love over destiny. Now destiny will bend to love." The words weren't from Lucien or the goddess. They were both. A single tear rolled down Selene's cheek, glowing silver as it hit the earth. Light rippled outward, wrapping around her like a cocoon. When it faded, her eyes burned with new power, half hers, half his. She looked toward the horizon, where dawn began to break. "You didn't die for me," she murmured. "You became part of me." She stood, every step steadier than the last, the mark of the moon glimmering on her collarbone. As she walked away from the ruins, the wolves howled, not in mourning, but in reverence. The Alpha had fallen, but the moon had chosen her. And somewhere beyond mortal sight, Lucien's soul watched, smiling in the light he had given her to live.
Chapter 10. The Moon's Second Dawn. Dawn crept over the horizon, painting the world in shades of gold and ash. The forest, once a battlefield of blood and whispers, now stood quiet, washed clean by the light. Selene walked barefoot through the clearing, every step leaving glowing prints that shimmered faintly before fading. The bond scar over her heart still burned, but it wasn't pain anymore. It was warmth, life. The relic's remains pulsed once, then melted into the soil, feeding the roots of the old oaks. The air shimmered with quiet magic, the kind that comes only after something sacred dies. Above, the moon still hung faintly in the morning sky, refusing to leave. Selene raised her eyes to it and whispered, "He kept his promise." Her voice trembled, but not from grief, from understanding. Every heartbeat echoed with Lucien's strength, his calm, his unspoken love. She didn't need to call his name anymore. He was in the wind, in her breath, in the pulse of every living thing around her. For the first time since Cale's death, she wasn't empty, she was whole. The packs gathered at dusk, drawn by the strange pull in the air. Wolves from both clans, rivals for centuries, stood side by side, unsure, but united by something unseen. When Selene stepped forward, the crowd fell silent. She wore white, not the color of mourning, but rebirth. Her hair glowed with silver threads, and the mark of the moon goddess shimmered on her throat. "Our bond with the goddess was never meant to be owned," she said, her voice steady, resonant. "It was meant to remind us that love is not about control, but surrender." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some lowered their heads, others watched with tears glinting in their eyes. Selene turned to the elders. "From this night on, no Alpha shall kill to claim power. No relic shall bind what the moon has already joined." The law was spoken, and the earth itself seemed to sigh of relief. A wind stirred the trees, carrying with it a soft whisper. Lucien's voice, faint but unmistakable. "You led them well." She smiled slightly, her hand rising to her chest. "We led them, Lucien, together." That night, Selene stood at the edge of the cliff where Cale had once confessed his love. The stars stretched endlessly above her, quiet witnesses to her new world. She remembered Cale's laughter, his warmth, the way he had once made her believe in forever. "I forgive you," she whispered into the wind. "Not because you deserve it, but because I can't carry the hate anymore." The words lifted from her lips like feathers, vanishing into the silver mist. She closed her eyes, and in the stillness she saw him, not as he died, but as he lived, smiling softly, finally free. Then she felt it, the light brush of Lucien's spirit, a warm current of peace wrapping around her shoulders. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. The silence between them said everything. Love that had no body, no boundary, no end. For a moment, she felt both men beside her, one from her past, one beyond the veil, and she knew the moon had not punished her. She had been chosen to bridge love and loss, to carry both without breaking. Weeks passed, the forest healed. The howls at night became songs of gratitude instead of grief. Under Selene's leadership, the rival packs became one, the Lunar Covenant. They trained, hunted, and celebrated together, their unity guided by her calm strength and Lucien's legacy. The young ones called her Luna Reborn, and when she smiled, they swore the moonlight grew brighter. But she still carried solitude, not sadness, but quiet reflection. Some nights when the world slept, she would walk into the woods alone. There, the air always shimmered faintly, and she'd feel him, a touch on her shoulder, a warmth at her back. The goddess's power lingered around her, no longer a curse, but a gift. One evening, as the moon rose full and radiant, a silver wolf appeared at the edge of the clearing, enormous, glowing faintly. Their eyes met, and Selene's heart stilled. "Lucien," she whispered. The wolf bowed its head, then turned toward the horizon. She didn't chase it. She didn't cry. She simply smiled, because she finally understood. Love, even in death, always finds a way to stay. The next morning, dawn broke softer than before, as if the sky itself had exhaled. Selene stood on the hill overlooking the valley, where both clans' dens now glowed with life. The moon's mark on her skin pulsed once, bright enough to cast her shadow long across the grass. "This is your world now," a voice echoed faintly, the moon goddess, calm and eternal. "But remember, child, even the light must rest in darkness to be reborn." Selene bowed her head, "Then let me guard both." And when she lifted her gaze, the moon, though pale, against the sun, still lingered, refusing to vanish. She turned toward the wind and whispered, "Until we meet again, my Alpha." Her voice carried upward, where the clouds parted, revealing a faint silhouette, Lucien's spirit, half smile, half shadow, watching over her. As the wind swept through her hair, Selene closed her eyes and breathed deeply. No more vengeance, no more chains, just love eternal and quiet, stretching from earth to heaven. And when the wolves howled that night, their song rose not in sorrow, but in celebration. The moon had kept her promise. The dawn had come again.